Hello again. How's it going? It's Mark here, Mark's Minerals. Today, I want to save you thousands of dollars. So you don't have to buy any more fire agate that's been finished by somebody else. And then you don't have any control over how it's finished. Instead, you can just carve it yourself. I'm going to teach you how. All these videos are a suggestion from my daughter. I wanted to help people out because I couldn't find information. When I was carving fire agate and learning it, there wasn't a lot of literature. There weren't any videos that I was aware of, and everything was really inaccessible. So I decided I'm going to help people. That was her suggestion. It's turned out really well. Great feedback, great questions. Thank you all to the people who subscribed and liked my channel. Just amazing. I really appreciate it, and I want to make sure I give back to you. So we're going to cut some fire agate today, and I'm going to just do it start to scratch. It's one I started earlier with some dental tools, removing the clay, chalcedony, mud. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to use a combination of tools, but each time I switch, I'm going to keep you updated, let you know where I am, what the process is, what I'm doing. Most important tools above my shoulder, right here. You want a mask. You want to make sure you're not breathing this dust. It's not good for you, especially over extended periods of time. Right here, yeah, you're going to want one of them too. Magnifying visor, just so you can see up close and personal. When I'm working and I'm not at my box, my lit box where the light's coming off of, I'm close to the stone. I'm about this far away, and I want to see every detail because I'm cutting down into those valleys and those little nooks and crannies. I want to get rid of all that brown. I want to eliminate the brown, and I want to reveal color. I've seen too many stones. I typed in fire agate window to eBay, and I was disgusted by some of the things that I was seeing. I'm seeing windows for $75, $85, several $100. There's one that was $650. It's just ridiculous. And lots that are going for thousands of dollars. These are stones that are unfinished still. Take the time, learn how to do it right, and do it yourself. And if you can't, then find somebody who's reputable and reliable, because some of these people's really... Some of the people out there are taking advantage of people who are just unaware of fire agate and its true cost. So that's my job, is to help you get a good deal. Make sure you get good fire agate, reasonable, affordable. I sell rough Mexican fire agate. I sell it for $45 a pound. You know how many rocks are in a pound? You know, as you go through, if you turn one stone into a $90 stone, everything else is gravy. So hang tight. We're going to get back to a stone, and we're going to see how it finishes out. I'm really excited. Thanks again for watching Mark's Minerals videos. I'm just so grateful. So let's get to cutting. Alright, so I'm working with a steady drip of water. Got it rigged up with some irrigation hose and little nozzle. If you're not doing that as you go, you can douse it in water, dip it as you go. I'm using two different heads right now initially to start. This is a Lasco 80 grit bonded, just chunky, coarse, rough wheel, and I wouldn't want to touch the color with it by any means. Then here's a 100 grit Diamond Pacific bonded, sintered bit, so it's diamond all the way through. And this one I can get a little bit closer. It's a little bit softer, more forgiving. It's not going to do quite as much damage, but if I lay into it, I'm still going to rip into the color, which I don't want to do. So, if you got two tools, make sure you know which pedal operates which one. Alright, let's start off. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue. Speed the water up a little bit. And again, nice, gentle, steady pressure. I'm not forcing it. I don't want the tool to skip across and rip into color. I want to have control over the head. I want to make sure I know what I'm doing and have a feel for the stone. I'm just slowly peeling away layers. I can always go back and peel a little more away, but I won't be able to add any more. So just nice and steady. And I'm starting to see a ghosting effect that happens sometimes. For the ghosting, you're talking about a separate layer of color that's not quite as developed, didn't quite make it, or it's just not as bright, super faint. And I don't like those. There's sometimes some beautiful colors, but they're really elusive. It's positional. You have to be looking at the right light the right way. And I'd rather the stone be bright from all angles while I'm watching it. And again, like I said, at this point, I hope you would be wearing your visor, your mask, being careful. I try to take off my jewelry and don't wear loose-fitting clothing. You don't want anything getting trapped or hurting you. Make sure you're taking frequent breaks to stretch your hands, check your progress. Alright. Speaking of which, this is a good place to check my progress. Let's see, where are we? Alright, so I've uncovered, there's a little layer, this clay-like mud between this chalcedony and the desired layer of agate. So it's going to be fragile. As soon as I get down on top of it, it's going to want to start flaking away, and it's going to peel away large amounts. See, that clay creates a barrier between this top layer of chalcedony and the fire layer down beneath. So as I grind into it, this is going to start to flake off. This is another reason I like to work in my little work box isolated, so any little rock chips or anything that goes flying stays centralized and doesn't go all across the room. So again, I'm going to be still using dental tools, and I'm going to be using this coarse bit just to peel off this top layer up until the bubbles. But as soon as I'm on top of the bubbles, I'm going to stop and we'll be right back. I want to keep you updated as I'm cutting, and when I switch bits, I'll let you know. Okie doke. So, I was working, and I got most of the rock off. Some of you might wonder why I worked two stones at once. Well, this is the reason. Because as I was working, I realized there's a big hole here in the middle where there was just a mud pocket, and it's dull. So, drat. Ha! Time to salvage this stone. I can go ahead and I'll still be able to get a nice, good-sized stone out of there. I mean, you work with what you have. But that's also why I worked two stones at the same time. I was so upset, I figured, well, the same bits are on there, I may as well work a different stone. So I started to clean up this black rock, the piedras negras, and you might be able to, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Alright, so this, when the bubbles are just revealed, there's still dark spots in between, but the tips of the bubbles are just exposed. That's when I get rid of all my coarse tools. Anything 100 grit or 60 or 80 grit, it's gone. So the next thing I'll be moving to is either a 200 grit, 325 grit, something along those lines, medium. This is the Lasco diamond bonded bit, so it's electroplated with it, and there's a thick coating of that. I like this one because of that flame tip. Allows you a lot of access. What I'm going to go with here is the Inland Tools Diamond Pacific sintered, so it's diamond all the way through. See that brass base? Eventually I've had them where there's just a tiny little nub at the end because we've used them for 100 or 200 hours and they've worn down to nothing, but those little nubs are actually pretty useful. So let's go ahead and switch this one out. And I'm going to continue working on this piece of Aguascalientes, this Mexican. And zoom back out a little so it's, yeah. Again, let's see, increase my water flow a little bit. Alright. Not too fast, and you definitely don't want to be using a lot of pressure. Sometimes, as soon as you start to see those colors pop up, you'll get excited and feel like you got to use more pressure to get to it faster. Although that might be your inclination, resist the temptation. Nice and slow. You just want to smooth out any tool marks you might have created and continue to work any of the dark brown spots. You don't want to really shape the stone at this point so much as clean it up. A lot less forceful. You can use more pressure when you begin. You might start a little heavy-handed, but as you finish, you're going to want a jeweler's touch. Light, precise. So I'm showing you that it will work. Even show you really quick. That's with the medium, and again I like sintered for this because with sintered, since it's bonded with the metal is a little bit softer. It gives way as you wear down, so eventually it'll wear down to a nub, but the advantage of this is that it's softer, so it contours to the stone a little better. So people ask when I stop using the tools, when I switch to either Nova Bits or the Diathin or Diaflex wheels. So I'm going to give you an idea of what I'm looking for. And this is turning out to be an excellent example. Very pleased. Alright, let's see if we can make this a little, focus in a little better. Fire Agate's going to be one of your most notoriously difficult stones to photograph. It just is. Let's see if we can get it to, there we go, focus in a little better. The position of the light, everything is going to play into it. There we go. You can, even though it's still out of focus, You can see that bright green flash, a little bit of brown on top. The brown actually appears pink or purple when you're up close to it with the magnifying visor. So, with the fine, I'll work down to the green, removing all this brown. So I'm going to come back when I'm down to the color and ready to move on to the next step. Okie doke. Alright, well, I've removed most of that brown. I've got down on top of the color. I've opened up to expose it in a few places where you can see the green starting to peek through as well as other colors. And so I'm ready to do my sanding bit. What I call sanding. This would be anything from Nova Points to Diaflex or Diathin. And in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and pull my water out of here. And I want my stone dry for this operation. If it's really wet while you're working it, it's going to eat up the bit. It'll wear it out unnaturally fast. So make sure your stone is dry. A little moisture will wear off. Alright, so working dry with the Diaflex coarse wheel. What do I have to watch out for? I definitely have to watch out for dust. You should definitely be wearing a mask and eye protection at this point, because I don't want to be inhaling that much dust. I just don't. Let me dry this off real quick. There we go. I'll take the moisture out. So, again, I'm going to start with just a corner and work my way in nice and slow, gentle. Keep the bit moving so I don't leave any tool marks, because even though it's a sanding bit, it's embedded with a diamond, so it will cut. And if you leave it resting too long in any one spot, you will wind up with those tool marks, and you don't want that. This doesn't look very good. What I'm doing is I'm going to sand the stone all down to an even area before I decide how I'm going to finish the stone. Personally, I like the girdle or the edge to be even, and I like it to have a little bit of flare so that it can be set into jewelry. If you have a big old floppy piece of agate without defined edges, it's fine for a table piece or something to keep in your pocket. Might even work for a pendant. But if you're going to want a piece that's fine finished jewelry, ready for some earrings or a ring or whatever else, you're going to want to have a nice, clean, defined edges and a good overall finish. Again, this is really kind of just cursory at this point, because I should be working with a magnifying visor up close, wiping down the dust as I go, double checking my work. This is not how you would normally want to approach this step. But for the sake of creating the video, I'm giving you an idea of what I'm doing. As I start to wipe away the dust, you'll see the color starting to come through here more clearly, and it's almost looking as if it were starting to be wet again. This is what I'm looking for. You can see there's still some kerr marks or some tool marks, and they're usually right there where two planes meet. You can see there's a big lip. Well, that's going to be an area of focus where I have to go in and clean out. All these lips I'm going to have to clean out. Back here, I'm going to have to clean that out. I'm going to continue to work over the stone till I've got this more smooth finish here with colors starting to poke through. And I'm going to do that by finishing up with the course. When I'm done with the course, I should have a consistent and even finish. This kind of matte finish that I'm looking for. See if I can get that to focus again. There we go. I'm going to want this clear matte finish consistently all over before I move to the next bit. How do I know when it's time to move on? Because it all has that same matte finish. When I'm done, I'm going to switch out to the medium, then the fine diathin, Diaflex, and each step you're going to see tool marks to a certain degree until you're done with it, and you want it all to be evenly finished at each step. That's going to be your key even through polishing. You don't want to move on to the next step until you're done with the first one. You're going to want to clean up and wash in between because you don't want to cross-contaminate with this dust. So I'm going to continue working and then we'll be right back. Alright, so I found a couple little flaws in the stone. Every once in a while, after I'm done with the diathin or when I'm done with my fine step, I'll go over and do a quick preliminary polish with the soft bristle brush. So I clean up the area, wipe everything down, just a dollop, small amount of polish. I'm kind of charging my brush, getting it nicely dispersed in there. I'll apply a little bit to the surface of the stone where I'm working it. Make sure you use a dedicated brush for each step. You don't want to cross-contaminate. And then keep it moving. I'm going to go horizontally, keep it moving, and then I'll move vertically, keep it moving. That way if I leave any cur marks, any tool marks, I can go back and wipe it out on the next step. How long do I spend polishing? I'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes with each polish, each grit. Then I take my break, wash it off with a little bit of Dawn, come back, look at it, see if I want to go a little bit further, if I want to polish a little more. Just stay flexible. That's going to be the key when you're carving. This isn't a super high color piece. It's got good color, but it's not the bright greens or the bright purples that I'd really want. But for black rock, it's going to stand out pretty nicely. I don't think I am going to trim this or cut it into individual stones. Instead, I think I'm going to use this for my giveaways. So when Mark's Minerals hits 1,000 likes, I'm going to go ahead and do another giveaway. Give 5 or 6 presents or gifts away to those who've helped support me, and just to say thank you. So make sure you share this with your friends. If you're interested in a hobby, or you want to get started carving, a little bit of fire agate, or maybe this will help you with something else. You share. There we go. Zoom in a tiny bit. It's not done, definitely not, but I've started to expose, and it's still blurry. There we go. I've started to expose some of those colors and those valleys. There's some green, some nice pinfire coming through here, and that's exactly what I'd want, is a nice consistent field of color. This doesn't meet up here, so I would probably trim one stone and then another stone, so this would wind up being 2 generally. But like I said, I think I'm going to do the whole top, polish that up nicely. Since it was shown in the video, I'm going to do this as part of the giveaway. So again, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and if you're interested in getting participating in the giveaway, please do so. Thank you very much for all your support, If you have any questions or comments, email me, mark.ruiz@fireagate@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.